On this episode of Athletes Anonymous Presents After the Buzzer, we're going to be talking about Jaylen Brown rumors, Lonzo Ball and the Chicago Bulls conundrum, the refereeing in the NBA being what it is, back to a little bit of the ring culture conversation, and we're also going to get into that play-in, playoff conversation. So let's get to it, boys. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your co-host, Keoni McKeague, and with me as always are my longtime friends and co-hosts, Nolan Chang, Jared Chirai. Say what's up to the pod, boys.
Hello, everybody.
What it do?
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it some momentum before I get into my conversation, because I was gonna go on a little bit of a rant talking about some stuff that I did miss last week. But first, we're gonna throw over to you, Jared. The man, the myth, the legend, LeBron James returns from injury, has himself a pretty damn solid game against the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, in a losing effort from yesterday, they will be meeting again on Wednesday, I believe, was when they play next. What did you get to see from that game specifically? Was there anything that kind of stood out to you in general, if you got to watch any of the highlights or whatever you got to see from the game?
I mean, well, LeBron looks good. He looks healthy. He looks like when he went to the basket.
How long has he been out?
Since February 26th.
A month and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, like a month, basically a month. Sorry.
Perfect.
That's
exactly.
really long for LeBron.
Yeah, for LeBron, that's
they
like
barely released what the injury was yesterday after the game.
Oh yeah. I seen that.
You wanted to say that sooner?
Why not?
We'll get into that later, but I was just like, oh, because they lose all of a sudden, oh, he had this in his foot, maybe that's why he was. I was like, oh, whatever, get over it.
Oh God, here we go.
Here we go. Give it excuses.
Okay.
Give it excuses.
Okay.
There we go.
No, it's kind of interesting with the LeBron dynamic. You know, they've been doing well without him. I'm gonna say it. They were 8-4, Nolan.
I think it's 8-4 is what it is right now.
8-4.
5 now.
Yeah, well, 5 now, but before without him and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when you look at it in that regard, I would say like it messed with the dynamic a little bit. I mean, I kind of looked at 80s numbers and minutes, his shot attempts and things like that, and you know, just everybody
shot
else.
Attempts.
No, and it was 8, right?
Yeah, 8.
It was 8. Yeah.
For the entire game. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so I mean, like, so it's weird in that regard. I mean, they're trying to win, and if they're trying to win, you want LeBron to come in and not like mess with the chemistry that's, I guess you would say, would already.
Which is why I think
happened.
he came off the bench, right?
Yeah, which is why he came off the bench. But I mean, I'm just pulling up the stats really quick, and he played 30 minutes. So you know how much off the bench is that really? You know. I know they're trying to get him into a rotation, but then it suffers where in the sense when they were without him, they had a deeper bench. They had more minutes for everybody else, more shot attempts. So I don't know if they were like just playing with it, thinking that, oh, we're down anyway, because they were down big at one point, weren't they? Mm-hmm. They were down kind of big at one point.
By 26.
So, yeah. So I mean, the fact that he gets more minutes there, it just kind of helps to flow, get him back into game shape and see what he can do. Maybe that's why AD didn't get as many. But I mean, even at that, AD played 36 minutes. And to get only 8 shot attempts and score 15 points for somebody who's been scoring you like 37 and 15, it's kind of ridiculous to look at. But I mean, I thought LeBron looked good. I don't know how it's going to fit into the Lakers part of things, but just because like, now it's really the managing of minutes, seeing who's hot, and it's hard. I mean, it's like volleyball too, right? You want to see who's hot, but by the time you check and see who your mains are, and it's too hot, maybe you're down 15 already. So, I mean, it'll be very interesting going forward into this next game to see if they start him or he comes off the bench again, or what his minute management.
Honestly, I'm gonna say he's gonna start because especially because it's the Bulls, and for some reason he always gets up against the Bulls. Like I don't.
Well, he's in
foresee
Chicago
him-
too, right? So
Yeah, I don't foresee
Even
him.
more
He's
so.
gonna like dunk on someone. Fuck you, D Rose. He's like,
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't foresee him letting it happen 2 games in a row. So I just imagine that he would start for this next one. But that's just me. Anyway, swing it over to you, Nolan, because you are a Laker fan first and foremost, right? So
Yes.
I am curious because obviously there was a little bit of an adjustment for your team. You do have a lot of young guys who are earning their minutes. Troy Brown Jr. I didn't even realize. Has he been starting for you guys?
since D'Lo's been out,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
So
then-
yeah,
and
so
I
that
mean,
was
a mixture of D'Lo and no LeBron was Reeves and Brown.
yeah.
Starting.
Got you. Okay, so yeah, seeing him in there, I was like, oh wow, he's starting for you. I didn't realize. Anyway, but seeing how the team had been performing for the last 12 games prior to LeBron's coming back into the team, do you see this more as a? Do you see him coming back into the lineup being as more of a detriment for your team, or if as a Laker fan, do you want to see this team? Like, what direction are you pulling more towards? Because I do feel like with LeBron there, you guys are obviously competing for a championship. But in the same sense, is there a possibility of a future without LeBron that you could see them trying to kind of build towards, especially knowing that he may possibly leave you in what, a year? 2 years when his son gets drafted? Yeah.
Yeah, he has the option on his draft year.
Yeah, got you.
You know, I think that the young guys for sure took their foot off the gas a little bit for this game with LeBron back in because, you know, it is LeBron. He is your leader, captain. When he's on the court, obviously the ball goes through him first.
Yeah. The pace slowed a little bit
Yeah.
for you guys, yeah.
And yes, that is a bit of a detriment. I wouldn't say long term it would be, at least for the rest of the season, but it is a little different considering these guys have been playing a whole month without him on the court. For example, and I'll let you cover the fouling, officiating stuff. But like for example, Austin Reeves had over the last.
You sure you want me to take it?
No, I'll let you.
Yeah.
Over the last month,
Oh, you know he wants to.
Austin Reeves has been, I want to say, averaging probably 8 to 10 free throws a game because he's been more aggressive. He's been driving the lane, kind of looking to draw those fouls. Whether other fans like it or not, he's able to get that whistle because of how he plays when LeBron wasn't on the court. Yesterday, he only got 1 free throw attempt. So I'm not sure if that's more of him just being like, oh, LeBron's on the court. You know what? I'm not going to try to do too much. I'm going to defer to him a little bit whenever he's there. I think Schroeder and James both matched for the most free throws, which was 8. But long term, I need Darvin Ham to do better with his rotations. It has been an issue since the beginning of season, and it's still an issue now that should have been fixed a long time ago, especially once we got rid of Westbrook. We have multiple games where you have, Vanderbilt and D'Lo going off. All of a sudden, you have Lonnie Walker going off. Malik Beasley comes and goes with 15-point or more games.
Yeah.
I need him to register if someone is not having a good night sooner because we have such a deep bench. You have Rui Hachimura who can get you, we discussed, he can get you 12 and 5, right? As a guy who can hit mid-range at a high clip, high percentage. And
if nothing more, he's a threat, which is a big deal. Yeah.
Defensively, we're still doing well. He may not be the most defensive guard, but if our shooting is struggling, why not put him in, right? I mean, Lonnie Walker had a big night on Friday, and then all of a sudden he was cold today. I need him to realize, okay, Lonnie, you're out. Rui, go in. And then Malik, you're doing well. I'll keep you in the minutes as well. Vanderbilt struggled a bit. Okay, you're gonna split minutes with Hachimura and make this more accountable, right? Because obviously our team has shown that if a player is having a cold night, it is going to stay a cold night the whole game, and they really don't bounce back from it. So Darvin Ham, I need you to figure out your rotations a lot better.
Are you talking about the Bulls or are you talking about the Lakers? 'Cause it sounds like you're talking about the Bulls. It's just funny because as you describe it,
agreement with you.
I'm like, bruh. I'm still like, welcome to the team.
Whoa.
I was like,
It's like we're
sounds
both in the play-in or something.
Literally, I was like, we're literally sounding like we're in the same exact spot. Do we have like almost the same record too? Like, I swear it's
pretty
like
much very close.
What are you guys at right now?
You guys are
37,
36 and 38. We're 37 and 38.
I mean, it could even up today. You play Clippers.
That's true. And then we play you guys again Wednesday. Oh boy, man. Yeah, this is so funny. It's sad, but it's funny at the same time. That we're at this point talking about our teams in the plan. Yeah, it's funny because obviously, like, the result of the game, great. But I will say one more thing before I kind of get into my little bit of a rant here. Who were you guys' kind of big surprises for the night? Either team. I mean, I know there was a lot of surprising things, but whether it be a negative or positive surprise, who are your big surprises for the night? Jared, first starting with you.
Surprises for the night. I mean, good and bad. I think I already covered the bad part of it. Was there's just Anthony Davis and the 8 shot attempts.
Mm-hmm. Was that him though? Was it him or was it kind of like a mixture of just like other guys getting
I don't know. I didn't get to watch like the whole game. I kind of just watched the highlights to see what happened and like how they were scoring and things like that.
You were watching the highlights of the game vicariously through me responding every single time something stupid happened.
Every time something happened, I was like, bro, I gotta go check this out. I
think I unsent like 4 messages.
You unsent like 3 messages because I looked and I was like, Keoni said something. I was like, wait, where did he say it? And I was like, bro, where is it?
Because I was away. I was doing something with Nicole and just saw your messages after the game ended.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, were we like winning the game? And I looked at the recap, I was like, you were winning the whole game. You were here
He's over here nitpicking about everything. And I'm like, bruh, you guys were killing us at one point. And you're still complaining about this shit.
I will complain to the end of the world for how stupid that game was reffed. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll
get to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like for me, like winners wise, I mean, you gotta say that the Lakers had 7 players in 6 players in double figures, and it was Troy Brown and Malik Beasley who had like 18 each, and Schroeder at 17. So I mean, that's still just under LeBron and more than AD. So seeing them like still continue to put up at least good numbers to help that well-roundedness. I mean, that's kind of a bright spot for me with them. To see Zach LaVine go off for 32. I mean, we always talk about how streaky
he's another one.
He's so streaky, but I love watching him play.
It's the same deal with kind of how LeBron gets up for the Bulls. For some reason, LaVine gets up for the Laker games.
Games are LeBron.
Maybe it's because of UCLA and all that, but I mean, he just for some reason he likes to go off.
So what was Russell Westbrook's excuse then?
Ooh.
Playing in LA.
Playing in LA. I mean, you're not wrong because look at what he's doing in the other side of LA. So maybe it is just playing in LA.
Throwing it over to you, Noel. Who are your kind of big surprises, positive or negative for the game?
Malik Beasley. I know that. I mean, that goes into another thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go on a rant now.
Oh God!
LA fans are pieces of shit.
Here we are.
I don't understand where fans come from thinking that a guy who is playing a sport professionally as entertainment to you, the city of LA, deserves to get death threats and threats against his family because he's not playing well. And to put it on a post when he's celebrating his kid's birthday, like, I don't know where the stupidity
Did you read my rants? I don't understand.
What?
It's like you and I are in sync today.
We did it to Danny Green. We did it to Russell Westbrook.
Oh, Danny Green was completely out of pocket for that one, especially. Yeah,
but they did it obviously to so who was it? I don't remember. Anyways, they did it to Malik Beasley most recently. There was one more. I know that someone was mentioning that there was 4 people that were largely affected by fan base. What the fuck are you guys doing? I just don't understand. Like, you can be a diehard fan and just be upset for why we lost, but to like go out of your way to threaten, and in multitudes, it's not even just one fan, in multitudes to like threaten someone who is doing this because they love the game and they were given an opportunity here. People don't play well.
These are the same fans, not just in LA speaking, but toxic fans in general. These are the same fans that go out and yell the N-word at players. And it's stupid.
You know, people give a lot of shit to most recently LeBron Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving for getting fans kicked out of games.
Mm-hmm.
Being a fan, paying to sit near the court as a spectator is a privilege. If you are able to buy a ticket and be there and enjoy the team that you love, that is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
You can yell out, "You suck." You can yell out, "Do better." Something that has to do with the game. But the moment you start making it personal and you start making it very outlandish in what you're yelling at a player, I have no qualms with any of those guys asking them to be kicked out, because it's just not right. I get it. Fans are aggressive sometimes, but be aggressive in the right way. You can be upset. You can be, loud and blatant and belligerent, but be aware of what you're saying to people, because yes, they're making tons of money, but that doesn't mean you have the right to just go and yell out stupid, very, very controversial, derogatory terms to them.
I wish I had like the sound of like the national anthem, just like the piano version, just to play it behind you while you're talking. I know, I was like, God bless America. Like, I was like, that was a fantastic speech. Well done, my friend. That's going to be a reel coming up, guaranteed. But yeah, I mean, that is actually a perfect segue into what was going to be the beginning of my rant. Not getting to the debate portion yet. This is just a rant that I wanted to talk about last week.
I got warm doing that speech. Sorry.
Because, yeah, it's funny you're talking about that, because I have parallels to what's kind of going on with the Lonzo Ball issue. First and foremost, I mean, I talked about it last week, the human side of it. You never want anybody to go through that. He's costing himself a large part of his athletic peak. And on top of that, he's also, not getting to play a game that he loves. So human side of it, absolutely horrible for him. Third surgery since he joined the Bulls, which is crazy to think about. And on top of that, he, will be out possibly all of next year. So it sucks. It's horrible. Obviously, it looks bad when that was kind of the guy that we were going to build around. But yeah, we're kind of going through that same thing where I'm looking at fans who just like, the toxicity is insane to me. Like, for them to go out of their way to just wish like horrible things on a human being is insane to me, because first and foremost, like, I'll say this, when he first got signed, I thought perfect, literally perfect. I'm going to put this out there on the pod. When healthy, I do believe that they are the best backcourt duo in the league. 100%. 100%. Because they complement each other so perfectly. We got to see a little bit of how it works when he was playing with the Bulls. I mean, we were the number one seed in the East for a reason during that time, because they literally just, what one doesn't do, the other does perfectly. With Zach LaVine specifically, I think it's so funny that he's looked at as a negative defender. And I, too, have said that he's a negative defender. But as an on-ball defender, one-on-one defender, he's actually one of the better on-ball defenders, because he's so athletic. He's so long. He's, a little bit taller. He's 6'6". Him and Lonzo Ball both are. So when the two of them are out there defending, and you got to see examples of it while they were playing together, I mean, it looks beautiful. They play fantastically together. So for people to go out of their way to be talking about how the Chicago Bulls just screwed the pooch with this whole signing, yes, it looks bad now because of all the stuff that happened after he got injured. But realistically, I mean, what do we do when we build teams, right? You build around a certain core of people that you expect to be healthy and be playing together. And when it doesn't work out because one gets injured, it's not because the organization did horribly. And I said this when AK, the guy who is now the GM for the Bulls, first came on. He had 5 goals, and right off the top, the number one was getting a guy like Lonzo Ball to match up with Zach LaVine, who was budding as a star at the time, coming off of 2 All-Star appearances, playing out of his mind, averaging like 30-something points a game. Like, it was all working well when they were healthy. And health is always going to be one of those things, no matter what, it'll always affect it. For the Chicago fan base, we've been dealing with health issues since way long time ago because of all the stuff that happened with D Rose. So for me, it's one of those things like I don't understand going hard into a player like that or even for this organization, because I do think that they turned around what the organization looked like because players didn't want to come here because of all the drama that was happening behind the scenes and all the stuff that they were hearing about our GMs before. And it's all out of pocket. We got to see a good part of what this team does very well yesterday with the Lakers game, because AKA goes out. One of his main goals was to go out and find high IQ, defensive-minded players and leaders, and he brought that. Pat Bev, Alex Caruso, two of just the most absolute dog players you can find in the league, bringing a mindset and a mentality to the team that's completely just perfect for a team that's going to try to make a run in the playoffs, which, it's probably not going to last very long, but they are there and they're changing the culture of what the identity of the team is. And I think it's a fantastic get for us. Going into the officiating yesterday, first and foremost, this team is the number one defensive team in the league since the All-Star break. Let's put that out there. All the naysayers about what the Chicago Bulls are, we're the number one defensive team in the league since the All-Star break. You know what that means? We play great defense. We also do not conduct that many fouls in a game. The Los Angeles Lakers are actually, and I don't know when this conversation happened between the three of us, because I'm trying to remember when that conversation did happen, actually get the most free throws per game. And I don't know if that's for the entire year. I know that stat applies for sure for this.
Probably the entire year.
Okay, since All-Star break. But they do get the most free throws per game, and it's not even close. The next closest team, I believe, is like a large, wide margin below where the Lakers are. Seeing it firsthand, it was a little bit different than watching it or than seeing highlights or kind of like having a conversation with you guys, because I do not watch the Lakers games often. Yesterday was the first time to actually watch it fully all the way through and get to see it firsthand, how it happens. There were so many poor calls made yesterday, and I know we've had the conversation before about referees being bad in the NBA. This was just ridiculous. The amount of foul calls that not just LeBron James, even though mostly it was LeBron James, but the amount of foul calls that LeBron James can just garner for absolutely nothing is just ridiculous to me. There were a few times, I think, even when Vooch got kicked from the game, gets basically a clean block. I think he accidentally swipes LeBron across the face. Obviously, LeBron goes into full, actor mode and like starts holding his eyeball, like his eyeball.
He got hit in the face.
Swiped first and foremost. Swiped
on the face.
Blocked.
So there was physical
first.
Contact on the face.
Blocked first.
But it's on the follow through of the block that they can
on the cheek.
So it hit his skin.
On the cheek.
So it hit his skin.
See, this is my point.
It's
right
some
here.
part of his head.
Because you saying hit is completely different than swiped, and
on the head.
And there's a big difference.
But there was physical contact.
Was there enough for a 260-pound man to be flying like this? Absolutely not.
I'm not saying
then be grabbing his eye.
Was
absolutely.
okay. I'm just saying.
But this wasn't even this wasn't the issue. The issue wasn't the foul.
Following.
The issue was him going to the ref and calling out Vucevic for saying stuff and then getting him kicked out, getting 2 texts in a matter of like 5 seconds. It's ridiculous.
I didn't see LeBron saying that about him.
He literally goes to the ref to talk to the ref, points at Vooch. Vooch gets kicked out of the game for a second tech because of something he said, which is just out of pocket completely.
Well, I didn't know
it's ridiculous to me that LeBron James has this much pull in the league. And like I've said off pod, and I will say it again on pod over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. This is the reason why LeBron James is not the GOAT and will never be the GOAT. 100% will never be the GOAT. Last week, we had this conversation regarding ring culture, talking about LeBron James. I thought it was funny that somebody on the pod said the only argument for Michael Jordan is all the rings. First and foremost, the argument for the rings is not the argument for the rings is not because of the rings. The argument for the rings is because of how the rings were won. Dominance, absolute dominance. On top of that, talking about Michael Jordan in this conversation, there is no conversation. There is an entire Hall of Fame career between Michael Jordan, LeBron James. The only person I think even comes close after that, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant. Yeah. Those two guys
built Nolan up so high. He was like, no.
Well, he got to it. It came full circle.
It was full circle. I knew he was getting there. I knew it was coming.
This is why this kind of stuff right here, the amount of foul calls that this guy gets throughout the league. I get what you were saying earlier about if everybody else can do it, why can't LeBron do it? But to me, it's one thing to go out and make a good play, get a foul. It's another thing to make every single play a foul. They're two completely different things. So because literally, I watched him trip over Pat Bev. I watched him trip over Alex Caruso, bumping. I'm like, Pat Bev is literally half the size of this dude. Yeah. How is he falling, sliding 40 feet, and then getting?
Well, if you get tripped, you get tripping. That's Nolan.
That's the thing, though. He didn't get tripped. That's the thing, though. He didn't get tripped.
Let me ask you, in what way? This is just in general, not for the game yesterday, but at what point does it become lopsided in reffing? When you look at a game, is it like the number of foul calls and the biggest differential between one team's amount of fouls given and the other team's amount of fouls given, or is it the context of each foul?
It's the context of the foul, because I think there were so many plays in the exact same game, look the exact same way on both ends. LeBron gets the call, Levine doesn't get the call. LeBron gets the call, DeRozan doesn't get the call. LeBron gets the call, Vooch doesn't get the call. Like, there were so many instances like that. Even one, I think he was complaining, and then they replayed it, and literally you see his whole entire bicep smack across Levine's head as he's like goes like in the air. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know. It's one thing for me if you're gonna go out of your way to complain a foul that you might not have actually fouled. It's another thing entirely to go out of your way to complain about a foul that was 100% guaranteed a foul. It's funny to me because I'm past the point, I think, where we used to basically hate on LeBron all the time. When he was with the Heat, I'm sure you had your issues with him. I had the same because obviously he always was dealing with the Chicago Bulls during the time. It's at a point where I'm like, to see that kind of stuff blatantly happen in a game, I can't ride with the fact that there is somebody who is not only taking advantage of what the rules are, but also has the star power to dictate whether or not players get kicked out of a game. Like, that to me was just so absolutely ridiculous. I hope that they go back and review the call on Vooch and basically everything that happened jarring between him and LeBron. I really hope that gets reviewed and the league apologizes for it. We're going to get into that conversation right now because I think that that's something that we should discuss with the referee issues that we've been seeing all over the league, and not just yesterday's game. Yesterday just happened to be the perfect example to kind of lay into it. With the referee issues in the game, do you guys even think that it's worth mentioning post-game that they missed the call, especially if it did affect the in-game results? Like, does that, for you as an organization, as a fan, do you think that it even matters for the league to acknowledge that they made the wrong call? Or would you rather see them put into action fining refs, suspending refs if it comes to that? What are your thoughts, first and foremost, on just the first idea and then kind of add it after Nolan?
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry.
I was just gonna keep going.
It's kind of, I don't know. It's like throwing salt on the wound. I know that Adam Silver has said that their punishment is loss of assignments to games for referees around the league. I think there needs to be more now, just given the.
But does it affect their pay as much?
Right.
You know what I mean?
There needs to be something more specific, right? I think that pay-wise, I don't think that. Here's what I think they should start. Let me restart. I think they should stipulate if you're being hired as a ref for the NBA season, you're going to be given this base pay, obviously based on seniority, how long you've been a part of the organization.
Yeah.
There should be incentives for NBA refs as well for amount of non-mistakes that they make, or the lack of mistakes they make throughout the whole season. Because in regards to it, this is a job. You can't necessarily take money away from an NBA player unless they do something specifically wrong that is not basketball, right? Yeah. NBA refs, they're trying to do their job. Some obviously do better than others, mainly not so much today. But I think there should be incentives for end of season referee bonuses because of how outlandish it's been this season and seasons prior. You get a ton of these NBA players who, like LeBron, can draw fouls when it's not really a foul. Chris Paul's one of them. You get other guys who are complaining every other call because they can, and then all of a sudden they get thrown out just because they're talking to the ref, not even saying anything against the ref. They're just, whether it's like, how's that foul, blah, 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 but they're coming at them and, you're hurting me, get out. Yeah. You're done, right? I mean,
somebody said that they should have sensitivity training, but like the opposite, where they like learn how to be tougher.
was that old show where like they take these bad kids to like the jail and like right? But yeah,
it's funny. I just saw that commercial with when Blake Griffin and CP3 went and did Scared Straight. That's what it's called.
There you go.
The show.
But yeah, I just think like I know there was a call last night against Luka and he got a tech that was supposed to be his 16th of the season, but they rescinded it because the ref called it out of pocket and it wasn't actually, shouldn't have been called a technical foul. There should be less of this after the fact stuff. I think if you're going to call a good game, call a good game. Mistakes happen. I'm not going to blame you for making a mistake, but the multitude of it is what's making an issue with officiating.
It seems like sometimes like they'll blow the whistle, not knowing what they're going to call.
Me!
yeah. Like I was just,
me, number 23, out.
I was like,
within like one swoop.
Trailblazers game, they literally did something like that where a ref blew the whistle and she was like not sure what she was supposed to call, and then she kind of was like,
I think it's this
carrying or something. Like I was like, oh, did she?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like you said, reviewing after the game. Some of them, if they are
like, does it matter for you? Does it matter?
Does.
Like,
I mean,
like if it doesn't affect the result, does it really matter? Like for you?
Us specifically, and as much as you've already kind of said a good piece of how the Lakers get called. We've already talked about earlier in the season, there have been at least 7 games where that last possession was the difference between us possibly winning and not. And missing big calls like that should affect the referee's pay, especially if there's 3 of them on the court. You have 3 different angles to watch something happen. And if none of you are calling that, but you both have eyes on what's supposed to be happening, that's no excuse. They're not going to pay a 4th ref to be there, right?
So for you, is it a moral victory? Like, because like you just said, it literally made it so like you guys lost the game. But if they were to tell you like afterward, like, oh, right, sorry, we screwed up, but you guys still lose, like,
yeah, that doesn't. It's rubbing salt on the wound, right?
So it is. So is it a moral victory? Is that what you are saying you want out of it?
I guess to know that we were
little
right?
victories.
Yeah,
little victories.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like little victories, but it's not the victory we wanted, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And that's where it comes down to what we mentioned. There should be incentives for refs being good, whether that is including more assignments for refs that are doing a good job, and then referees who are not. Because I don't know what it is, but the Scott Foster stat, whenever he refs CP3 games, it's more and more looking like a real thing. Whether he's actually calling it on CP3 or not, there shouldn't be that sort of stat being moved around the league. It doesn't make sense. Fred VanVleet talking about Ben Foster as a ref, and look at that. They minused how many assignments he'd be getting for the rest of the season because they noticed where he'd be kind of taking advantage as his power. So, screw you, refs. I don't know.
Throwing it over to you, Jared. I mean, do you think that their pay needs to be affected in any way first? And then second, because the idea was brought up that there should be more power given to head coaches, maybe the possibility of adding more challenges in the actual game, so that they have the ability to kind of go against the grain whenever these bad calls are made. What do you think about this idea?
Sorry, it was Ben Taylor, not Ben Foster.
Ben Foster's the actor, is it not?
No, isn't he a referee too?
Scott Foster was the
Scott
one for
Foster,
CP3, but
right.
Ben Taylor is the one that was against Fred VanVleet. Just
Ben
wanted to correct that.
I was like, I thought Ben Foster was the name of that guy. Never mind. Anyway, I feel like it's the name of the guy from that Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah.
So who also played Archangel in X-Men?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Ben Foster. Anyway,
that's the role you remember. That's the role.
I don't know why it always sticks out to me in my mind that was the rule. Anyways, sorry.
No,
Jared,
you're good.
What do you think about the referee kind of idea?
I mean,
in general,
I think in general, isn't it like their pay kind of does get hit in a sense, because like Nolan was talking about after season awards, don't they review all the referees, and then whoever gets good reviews in a sense, they get to do the playoffs?
I don't know.
I thought that was like.
I mean, that makes sense.
I thought that was one of the things. So in a sense, like I feel like for playoff games, they probably get paid more and things like that. So that's an incentive in itself.
Yeah. Well, they do have a base pay. I think that's what I was more touching on. Like, does their base pay get affected because?
If players can get fined, I feel like they should get fined for their things. You know what I mean? In all honesty, I think so. Yes, I do think that they should be affected in some way, especially because you're playing with multi-billion dollar like teams that are literally fighting for one thing and one thing only, to win a chip. And I get it, it is human error. You see it in every single game. You see it in volleyball, you see it in soccer, where they're trying to go to different like reviews and things. Like even for the collegiate game of volleyball, like they have a challenge, and I don't think even in that setting there's enough challenges. So in response to yours, I think the NBA should get more challenges allowed to them, especially since they have a lot of timeouts too that you can take away. I mean, granted, it sucks because like if you lose a timeout, and maybe you need that late in the game. But if you need a challenge late in the game, at least you know it's going to be there, because you can save at least one for it, not just burn it early and be like, hey, I think this is the turning point of the game. We need to use our challenge, and then it's gone. Or it can be like, is it if you win it, you keep it?
No, you just keep a timeout.
Oh, see, like volleyball internationally, if you win it, you get to keep it. And I think that should be a rule. Like you get 3 per game. If you win it, you keep it, and if you lose it, you lose a timeout. I think that's a perfect system to kind of mimic.
I would say that as a unit,
points for Jared.
If there is a point where 3 successful challenges happen, that whole ref group should be reprimanded in a way for that.
Okay,
I like
points for Nolan.
I don't know. I kind of do like that in a sense, but it's like it's not always going to be on the whole ref team. It's going to be on the one. Maybe the one guy makes all 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What if Archangel is there? You don't want him doing bad refereeing. It's funny because in my head I was like, I feel like that's wrong, but I didn't want to.
It was Ben Taylor. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At least you caught it, though.
Both?
Yeah.
I had to look it up. I was like, Ben Taylor. There you go. Scott Foster, Ben Taylor.
Yeah. I got
same person. No.
Yeah, both bad refs. Anyway.
Yeah, Ben Foster.
No, but so I mean, for me, that's what it is. To kind of like, I was just letting Nolan finish his thoughts on the whole after report. I think I think I like it in a sense of accountability. At least the refs are the league's reviewing the videos, talking about it, so it's not just like, oh, this happened, okay, whatever. And then sometimes it feels like they're reviewing it, and sometimes it doesn't. So I mean, it is little victories, like Nolan said, but I think for me, it's just a more accountability to know that, hey, these refs made a mistake. They're taking ownership for it. It is human error. It does suck that it happened at the most like crucial points of the game, but just know that we are like looking into these things in that regard. So I think that if they do that, and then they have that the fine system of like, hey, you made 5 bad calls in a game. It's like 1 to 3, like we'll let it go. 3 to 5, maybe we fine you the X amount. Except 5 to 10, like, you know what I mean? As it gets higher, and then I think I think the one fix that I think would thank you, that would actually help in all regards. In all regards, I think volleyball is allowed to do this. I think in high school as well, that you can veto refs that you don't want.
No, I'm just
like you can veto refs that you don't. I know for high school, I know we said, oh, we can put them on a list that, hey, this ref has never done this right.
Which I've been on a list. Playing against a coach that did that once. It was actually Matt Hilling. I coached against him like years back.
Oh, because everybody loves Matt
stopped
Hilling.
The game. Huh?
Everybody loves Matt Hilling.
And he literally stopped it and said, I'd like the head ref to come over here. I'm not going to play another point until the head ref comes over here. We literally had to stop the game just because he was waiting to know that he was correct.
Yeah.
Which he was. I feel like the ref was being a little blatant against him, but I was like, all right, dude, I'll wait, I guess.
Yeah. But I think that's another fix that could happen, to help the system. Like, we know Scott Foster's a really bad ref against us, or Ben Taylor. Like, we just want to put him on a blacklist that we don't want him for our games. It's not us being biased or being babies about it. It's just we see it and everything. Oh goodness. You know what I'm getting at, but yeah. But I mean, I think that'll be a good fix as well, because I feel like in professional sports, like, there are biased people. You're not going to find 100% not biased person to a certain team. I mean, you brought up the whole LeBron James thing. I mean, yeah, he's a superstar. Yeah, he gets calls. James Harden, Chris Paul, you name it. Like, they all get calls, but it's like, because of their status and because of the biasness to what the refs are looking at. So if you feel like that, I think head coaches or GMs are allowed to say, hey, we don't want this guy to do it. And I think that's a good fix in itself.
That is fantastic. That was a fantastic rant on the referee conversation.
How early in advance do they normally announce the ref assignments for public view or for team viewing even?
Ooh, I don't know. I want to say it's got to be like a week or more out in advance, because they have to have the scheduling of how to fly them out and how to do all this other stuff. They have to house them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's like these referees need to make plans like, hey, I'm going to Chicago this week, then I'm going to Dallas, then I'm going this. So they need to have it in advance to know where they're going to travel.
I was like, maybe they just do it the night of and.
Oh, it's like, hey, just letting you know, you're supposed to be in New York tomorrow, and I know you're in Cali, but get on a plane, please. Thanks.
Game's at 10:30 a.m. See you there.
Yeah, it's a Sunday game, 10:30.
Poor referees having to fly from Cali to New York.
Fly the red eye, baby. No wonder they're missing calls. I think I saw this. I don't know. Wait.
Before because I know this conversation keep going, I'm going to continue on. We do have the Jaylen Brown rumors, which I do think we need to touch on. Couple things. First and foremost, do you believe that they're true as far as what he's saying about basically being disrespected by the fans, going somewhere where he actually feels like he's wanted and treated correctly? Are these kind of, because it's been happening for a few years, I feel like that Jaylen Brown's kind of animosity towards the Celtics has been building up, but going to throw it over to you first, Nolan. What do you think? True, not true? If true, what would you do with him?
I think it's true that he is showing that kind of animosity regarding the fans. And he was very, very careful in how he worded it. And he said, there are some fans that are very specific to Boston culture, as opposed to other fans who are just, good fans. I think that he is saying it that way because he wants to move on, but at the same time, Boston is doing well. They're a winning team year in and year out, especially since he's been there. So he can't necessarily feel complaint against his franchise and the team because they're having success, in quote unquote, right? They haven't won the chip yet, but they're doing well this year. And this could be their final run in order to actually keep him on the roster. I mentioned earlier, it could be fun for him to maybe sign with the Rockets, maybe if they do get the Wembanyama's pick, as well as, maybe a reunion with James Harden. That could be a nice little starting lineup. You still have a great youth in Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. You'd have Sengun probably coming off the bench. But they have, was it Jabari Smith or Jalen Smith there?
Jabari Smith,
who's been fantastic this season. And I think two veterans like that could probably teach these young guys how to actually be professional in how they're playing the game rather than just the guys at the park who are going to talk smack even though they lose more than they win, right? So I think Jaylen Brown, after this season, has every right to look elsewhere. He has been a phenomenal talent this season, especially. But I think it's going to be very dependent on their playoff run. So if he does want to leave, it probably will be if they don't actually seal the deal, which is a high chance.
Throwing it over to you, Jared. As a Celtics organization, do you think that they should try to kind of mend what's going on with Jaylen Brown? Because obviously we see what they have built with this team currently. Like Nolan said, you can say whether or not it's successful or not. I mean, they obviously have gotten to the finals, which is, a big deal. But yeah, because they have a younger growing core, would you try to mend the fence in whatever way possible? Or are you kind of on the train where they could use him to get something else or move him to a team where they could get something better? Or not better, but
this offseason? Yeah. I thought he was just becoming a free agent this offseason.
2024 is when he would be a restricted free agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, restricted free agent. Yeah, so they... Oh, no, excuse me. 2024 is when he becomes an unrestricted free agent.
This is restricted this offseason.
Yeah. Okay. So, or he's not restricted. He's just not a free agent this offseason.
Oh, I thought he was. Okay.
No.
Anyways,
yeah, it's 2024 because 2024 is the long list of like
the one that everybody's 30. Available.
If you look at that list, it's ridiculous. Like I think even like Jimmy
LeBron
Butler, the option, LeBron James, like there's so many big names on there. Paul George, I think, is even on there. Anyway, but yeah, so what is your thought process behind it?
I mean, I would say they should, just because the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they're like aren't they the highest scoring backcourt in the NBA right now, the biggest 1-2 punch. So I feel like they should do it in that regard. But I mean, in all honesty, if he's not happy, it's like with any player. If you're not happy, are they really going to put out for you every night? There's going to be games where they're going to be in their head, or they're going to be fighting with the crowd over like playing the actual game. So I think mending would be probably the first option, first and foremost, because they are successful. They're the second best team in the league right now. I mean, and they're not trailing Milwaukee by much to be that number one seed in number one team overall. So for me, with Jaylen Brown, but I feel like it's just Boston, When Tatum's not doing well, they get on Tatum because Brown's outshining him. When Brown's killing it, and it's the opposite roles. When you have a big 1-2 punch like that, it's
after the finals last year.
Yeah,
they were all over Jason Tatum.
Yeah, because he didn't show up, but he carried them all the way there. It's like somebody else helped me out when we get there, and I think that's just the high legacy coaches, especially with like the Lakers, or you have Boston, the franchise teams that they always talk about. And so there's a bigger spotlight on you when you're not doing certain things. But at the end of the day, you are the professional athlete. You are not that guy sitting in the stands. I mean, it sucks and they always say sticks and stones, but at the same time, you're making so much more money than that guy that's sitting right there. I mean, let's be real. And you're doing something that you love. Don't let people take it away from you at the end of the day. I mean, and we talk about it with volleyball. Time is short, right? And for him to be able to play the game at the highest level and be one of the top stars in the NBA, I don't think like lion don't listen to sheep. We use this analogy all the time. Ooh. We use that for our boys all the time. It's like, be the lion. This is just a little sheep. You only pay attention to this when you want to eat him, basically.
I wish I could count how many times I did this. put like a counter.
No, it's like I'm not winning.
Your score would be like 500. It's like,
that's a Najee Henry uses. Like, just lion don't talk to sheep, and so it's like really resonated with me when it comes to these things. Even like when I'm playing on the court and I hear people heckling, I'm like, I'm on the court. You're not. Like, you can say whatever you want, but A, I'm starting, and B, I'm doing I'm doing me, and I'm loving volleyball right now. So yeah. I think for him, he there is a fine line because it is on a nightly basis, maybe, and I get how that can get under your skin. But I do think to answer your question again, I do think Boston needs to reconcile because he is a big name for that franchise. And B, I do think like he just needs to not grow a pair, but at the same time, it's like just man up in a sense, like, and just do you, because it's got you to the NBA Finals. It's got you to be the second best team in the NBA right now between you and Jason Tatum, literally carrying that team all season. So, I mean, hey, what more is there to say in how good he really is?
Yeah. I'm just saying, if he does leave Dallas, but anyway.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad about that
was
at all,
the piece
bro.
we've been saying they needed instead of Kyrie.
Just saying.
But you got to wait 2 years for it.
Yeah. He'd be perfect.
All-star 3 player, Mavs.
Yeah.
But I mean, it won't matter because then Luka's already on the Bulls, so you know. Anyway, continue on.
I like how that quick switch happened.
Final deal before we get to yay or nay. Quick hitter predictions for the play-in games. Who do you think it will make the play-in tournament? Who will capture the 7th and 8th seed? And just off the wall, give me who you think is going to take the championship this year.
Where you want to start?
That's who's more prepared. I think
Nolan's ready. He got his phone out, bro.
I'm ready.
Nolan, go ahead.
We'll
start with the East. Just looking at it right now, it is the Heat, but they do have the same record as the Nets, who are at the 6th seed, but Nets get the tiebreaker. For the play-in, I think it's going to be the 4 teams that are there, which are the Heat, Hawks, Toronto, and Bulls. Just because the drastic look from the 11 to 15 on the outside are pretty far off. So unless there was something bad that happens to one of the current 4 teams in there, I think those are the 4 that's going to be a lock. Just because the Heat are in a very bad drought lately, and I don't think they're going to recover from that to push past the Nets.
What happened to them?
Yeah, I have no idea. Because they kept Udonis Haslem another season. But I think the lock for those 7 and 8 seed spots after the play-in would probably be...
You can say it. You don't have to put the Bulls in there.
No, I was going to say it's probably going to be the Hawks and the Bulls if you guys can stay healthy and fire on all cylinders going into that. Toronto's very hit or miss as well.
Say, hell yeah, I can't wait to get eliminated by the Bucks in the first round.
Damn. That'd be sad. Or you play the Celtics?
No, Celtics would be better.
For the play-in, do they do 7, 10, 8, 9?
So 7 plays the 8. Loser of that one plays the winner of 9 and 10 to get the 8th seed.
So the winner is automatically the 7th seed.
So the bottom 2 have to play to move up.
Oh, okay.
The top 2 have to play to stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good way to.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good way because you win, you get to stay 7, right?
Yeah. For Western, right now it is the Wolves, Pelicans, Lakers, and Thunder. The Mavs and the Jazz are the 2 teams that are relatively close to move back into that spot. My understanding is the Pelicans have the hardest schedule for the last stretch of games, so I do think that they'll fall out. Even if they tied with us, we have the tiebreaker against them, as well as the tiebreaker against OKC, I think. The Wolves, they got Cat back. They've been doing pretty solid with him, so I think they're going to stay in. The Warriors are just 1 game up out of the play-in, but the Warriors, if they get their shit together on road games, I think they're going to be fine in the top 6 seeds. So I do think the Mavs aren't going to do it just because they've been struggling hard. I think the Jazz have a chance of squeezing in that 10. They're only, I think, about 1.5 games back, 2 games back, something like that. So I think it'll be Wolves, Lakers, OKC, and Jazz.
That sucks for the OKC.
If the Lakers figure their shit out with LeBron, I think that the 7 and 8 will be Wolves and Lakers. Yeah.
Hey.
And the champions.
There we go.
The champions, I think, of this season are going to be the Bucks. That's me.
It's going to be rough. Swinging over to you, Jared. Playing. Who you got?
I mean,
actually, you know what? I'm gonna skip the East because the East.
I was just saying the East. I pretty much
everybody after 10 is pretty much super far.
I think looking at the schedule, I think the Heat stay there. To be honest, I think they have the hardest schedule. I think 3 of the games they They have three games I think they should win, and then when I look at the Nets, I think there's like 5 games that they should win, like just based off of like just outside looking and not playing the game. So I would say it's hard. I want to take Miami just because it's Miami. Jimmy Butler just not gonna let anything happen there in that regard. And
so that's your 7.
You know what? I'll give you your Bulls. I'll give you your Bulls. I mean, I like what they. I like what. I was like, I like what they do. I like what they. Yeah. That's 8, 9, 10. It's just a toss up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All good games. By the way,
I think those games will be awesome. I think the Heat will take care of business, and then the other 2 games will be close, and so it can go anywhere. But
I really hope it works out that way because we have a better chance against both the Raptors and
the Hawks.
Than we do a probably revitalized Jimmy because playoff Jimmy is just different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm going with that. On the other side, I gotta go against Nolan with the Jazz. They play Phoenix, Boston, Brooklyn. They play LA twice, and they play Denver down the stretch.
Damn.
That's a tough schedule.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean that's tough for me.
My thing for that is the top teams that they're all playing outside the Lakers, because I'm sure Lakers are going to play everybody. How many of those will they rest players though?
I think only the Denver game. The Denver game's the last one.
Celtics are locked. Denver's locked. All for playoff berths. And I think the Celtics are high enough where they're not in threat to lose the 2nd seed. So, I mean, it depends.
Yeah, they play at Boston and they play on the 31st. Like, okay. You know what I mean? It's their 3rd game, so I feel like they're still going to play. Like, they're not going to rest Tatum and Jaylen Brown and everybody for that long,
That's true.
They'll probably get minutes, and then if they're up big, of course they're going to play everybody, right? So
it's crazy because I feel like a lot of, like, whether or not teams try all the way to the end of the year will be based on the matchups that they could possibly get. And the craziest thing is it's so close that your matchup could change from one day to the next. So I don't know. This might be one of the few years where we don't see as much resting because I know for a fact
in the West. I don't think so.
Resting on the low end, it's going to be on the high end.
No, what I'm saying is I know for a fact that if the Celtics have an opportunity to not play us as a 7th seed, because there is still a possibility we could get to a 7th seed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they would try to play either down or up, but I mean, either way, I don't think they'd want to see us in the first round. So that's why I said even in the West, I know there's a lot of teams that don't want to be seeing the Warriors or the Lakers. So I'll say this: there's going to be teams that I feel like may not be resting specifically. For
I think this is going to be the one season where the least amount of resting is going to happen for sure.
It's going to be crazy, dude.
Yeah,
I'm excited. This is a good NBA season.
But yeah,
very balanced.
Jeez, I don't know. I think I'm with Nolan where the Pelicans just drop out. Dallas moves up. I gotta cheer for Luka. I cheered for him all last year. I can't count him out. I mean, he's the beginning of the season without Kyrie.
I count the rest of the team.
But the beginning of the season when he was carrying, like
Luka plays hard, but
he carried them to a positive record the beginning of the season, scoring 60, 40, 50.
Dropping 0-2 against the Hornets back to back.
Is it crazy? Is it crazy that they might have just been better without trading for Kyrie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he had DFS, you know what I mean? Like, just you could have just had a more balanced lineup. It's crazy to think that, like, literally, like, man, anyway.
Well, I mean, we always complained about Luka getting help, right? So, I mean, at least that's what they were trying to do. Whether it was going to be successful or not was a whole different story. So, geez, I don't even know where everybody's going to be in this damn thing, to be honest, because like Nolan said, it's like 1-2 games. You know, the Warriors helped themselves out by winning the last 2-3 big games.
Yeah.
And that was big games.
Getting pressed for time, I'm going to say, who are your 7th and 8th seed?
My 7th and 8th seed?
The playoffs.
We're going with the Lakers, of course. And I'm going to go with Dallas. I mean, like, those are my two. I'm hoping the Lakers push up to 7 and Dallas squeaks in there at the bottom half of it. And then there's a 7-8. And
that'll be a hell of a first round. Dallas versus Denver.
Yeah. Dallas versus Denver, Memphis versus LA. Like, I think that should be
Ooh,
fun.
that'll be even better.
Yeah, I mean,
Memphis
and then
versus
you got to
LA.
think if Memphis and I'm not Memphis, if LA and Golden State switch, if LA, then you're gonna have Draymond and that Memphis team.
Damn.
I think that'll be a hell of a first round. But
in that scenario, would you guys rather be facing the Nuggets or the Grizzlies?
the Nuggets.
That's
like
why
the
it's funny
Nuggets.
because I was like,
I want to
like,
play the
damn.
Nuggets, bro.
I gotta say, I feel like it'd be better if you guys end up in 8th seed
Yep.
because the Nuggets would probably.
We
for
have
some reason,
I think we have a much easier matchup for
Bron against the Nuggets is just I don't know what it is. It's
Mhm.
just somehow just like he is with the Bulls. Anyway.
Yep.
God.
And then I think overall, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to take Boston.
Ooh.
I'm going to take Boston.
I don't know,
Damn.
man.
I don't know. I'm
Damn.
hoping,
Bucks
bro.
this year.
I'm hoping.
Damn.
I'm hoping.
Something about the Bucks,
Wow.
dude.
I know.
Yeah.
But, I don't
Damn.
want to be that guy. I was just like, I don't want
It's
to
like Brook Lopez is up for Defensive Player of the Year, which is
Yeah.
Brook
just
Lopez
insanity.
has literally had 2 different careers.
And then watch the Sixers win
Crazy
Nolan
defender
after we
now.
said all this.
You heard it here first. We got the Bucks and we got the Celtics. Anyway, moving on. Last segment, yay or nay, real quick. Starting off, 2023 is a Western Conference champ.
Nay.
Nay.
LeBron retires a Los Angeles Laker.
Nay.
I'm going to have to say nay.
Ooh, I'm curious. Okay. Kevin Love signs with the Lakers this offseason.
Nay.
No, not if you want it. Not if you want it to happen.
Yay!
I'm saying, will it happen?
Nay.
Yay!
He's gonna sign.
He's going to sign.
Nay.
He's going to sign.
I'm just saying he's an unrestricted free agent.
For the love of God.
And he'll take a
Nay.
pay cut. He'll take a pay
yeah.
cut.
Want him.
Hey, he's been doing unreal for the Heat.
Dude,
Give
he
him
can
some
still
props.
throw.
Defensive
He
liability. If we're
can
doing
still
so well
show
with our
the full
defensive
court
Keep
assist,
him
bro.
defensive.
He's a year
off
away
the
from
team.
a 6-man of the year bid. So next, Joel Embiid ends up leaving Philly.
Nay.
Lifer.
Yay.
Right on. James Harden will return to Houston next year.
Yay.
I'm going to go with yay because that's who I thought was going to be leaving.
And finally, Jaylen Brunson ends up being the Mike Conley of the East. Basically, barely misses being an all-star often.
In the East.
That's hard.
So he'll always be right there, just never gets it because of the talent above him.
I'll say nay. I think he has a chance.
I say yay. There's a lot of good guards in the East.
That's what I'm saying.
Could
And
move
it does.
around, though.
I know.
It's crazy, though.
and
Yeah,
everybody's,
I'm thinking of,
and everybody's moving to the
I mean, yeah, it's a
East,
weird
you know?
NBA season where
Yeah.
James Harden didn't even get picked to be an all-star, and he was
legit.
crushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that'll do it for us here on Athletes Anonymous Presents After the Buzzer. This was a little bit longer of an episode, but I guess I feel like we had a lot of things to get off our chest for this week of basketball.
Oh, did you?
What? Anyway, going to throw it over to you guys. Where can the people find you? Nolan.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at NolanKYT, NOLANKYT.
For as long as we've been doing this, you would think I would have that down already. Going over to you, Jared. Where can the people find you?
I'll be on Instagram and Twitch at JShirai, JSHIRAI, where we'll be streaming some ranked, which we were doing a little bit before this. So if anything, come by, drop a follow. Make sure you follow my boy Keoni because he needs the follows. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble. Otherwise, I get in trouble. But yeah. No. And I'm on Twitter at JShirai808.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at Keoni. That's KAYOHKNEE. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Poi and Soy Podcast. It is The Poi and Soy Podcast with an N, not Poi and Soy Podcast. I did realize, Jared, you're going to have to fix that on yours because I had to fix it on mine. Anyway, that'll do it for us here. Athletes Anonymous Presents After the Buzzer. Thank you for joining us for another episode. As always, it's been a pleasure. It's been a joy from all of us here at Pour and Soy.
Good vibes and love, everybody.
Bang, bang. Shoots.